what is a magnetic circuit. That will again start from today onwards, and we'll solve a few problem if time permits. Just a second, please. So from the Ampere circuital law, we got a rough idea about our magnetic circuit. Like if we have a current carrying coil, total current linked with the circuit is your MMF, magnetomotive force, which is the driving force for the flux. Because of the MMF, magnetomotive force, flux lines are developed, and then they'll close the circuits. They'll start from the emanating from one point like north pole, and they'll terminate at south pole. And if we have a toroid kind of thing like the way it is shown here, we'll have a circular flux lines within the magnetic material. And if there is a I current flowing, and if there are n number of turns, then total magnetomotive force as per the Ampere circuital law, it is n into I. And then we will get the flux lines from here. And what how the flux will link with the I mean your MMF, that is very simple, which is if we move to the next slide. And we have seen that from the last class, that from Ampere circuital law, it will be length of your uh, path, I mean the toroid. So if it is a toroid of radius r, then 2 pi r will be your L. So Ni by L will be your flux. Okay, and if flux is known, then if flux density is known, then we can find out total flux by multiplying it with area. And then we'll get the total flux phi in the toroid. So in a magnetic circuit, the magnetic flux due to the existence of a magnetomotive force and drives flux through the magnetic circuit. This we have learned, equal to the work done in joules in carrying a unit magnetic pole from one point to the same point or one point to another point in the magnetic circuit. MMF between 2 points is measured by the work done in joule carrying a unit magnetic north pole from that point to that other point. The value of MMF is proportional to the current and the number of turn. It is expressed in terms of ampere or ampere turn. And one of your microphone is switched on. Please mute. For homogeneous and uniform cross-sectional area, MMF per meter length of a magnetic circuit is termed as magnetic field. So field strength is equal to F by L, where F is equal to magnetomotive force, which is Ni by L. So Ni by L is your H, which is magnetic field intensity or field strength. Okay. So with all that in our mind, we can write it that H equal to Ni by L, which we got from the Ampere circuital law. In last exam or from Biot-Savart's law also we can prove this. So your magnetic field strength equal to MMF by length. MMF by length L is equal to 2 pi r for the toroid, whatever it is. So Ni by L is your H, and B is your flux density, which is mu 0 into mu r into H, where mu r is the relative permeability and mu 0 is your absolute permeability in vacuum or in air, which is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. So that into mu r into H. This is your expression for the magnetic flux density. So once you have the magnetic flux density, and if you have an uniform cross section area, then that flux is equal to phi equal to B into A. So flux density into A, and A is your cross sectional area of this circuit, uniform cross section area. So what you can write in the other way, phi is equal to MMF Ni by L mu 0 divided by mu 0 mu r into A. So what we can write this expression, this expression can be written as reluctance. Reluctance equal to MMF divided by flux. So if you take this in the other side and you take the flux in the denominator part, then it is reluctance, which is equal to MMF by flux, and that is directly proportional to the length of the magnetic circuit, which is length L, inversely proportional to the cross section area, and inversely proportional to the permeability. Okay, and unit is equal to ampere per Weber. Weber is your flux, unit of flux. Ampere is the Ni, I mean your mmf, or AT by Weber, you can write it. That is a unit for the reluctance. So if we relate this with the Ohm's law, what is our Ohm's law? V is equal to IR, or I is equal to V by R, right? So that you can relate with this. So whenever you apply a voltage, current will be flowing through it for a particular resistance or through the circuit. Similarly, whenever we apply a magnetic motive force in a magnetic circuit, the flux line will be produced proportionally. So that is the relation analogy between the magnetic circuit and the electric circuit. And there we have resistance into flux, resistance into current will give you the voltage. Similarly, reluctance into flux will give you the total mmf. So resistance is equal to rho L divided by A, where L is the length of the wear or length of the resistance, A is the cross sectional area, rho is the resistivity. Okay. Similarly, reluctance, which is usually denoted by S, is equal to L divided by A into 1 by permeability, mu 0 mu r. Okay, so this is also analogous to reluctance, is also analogous to resistance. So whenever you have a magnetic circuit, you can have the same concept of DC circuit or simple resistive circuit, and the way you solve the resistive circuit, in the same way you can solve for the magnetic circuit. Okay. What is permeability already we have discussed. Nevertheless, we'll go through once again. The property of the material which opposes the creation of the magnetic flux in it. This is, or this is the 1 by permeability actually. Permeability is which is allowing the magnetic flux to flow through it, because it is 1 by mu r. So the more it allows, the more its permeability is. The measures the opposition offered to the passage of magnetic flux through a material and is analogous to resistance of electric circuit even in the form. So as it is shown, it is rho L by A, that kind of form. Only in place of rho was resistivity, and here it is permeability. So it is allowing the flux line to develop. Unit is 80 ampere turn by Weber or 1 by Henry. Permeance is the reciprocal of the reluctance, and it implies the case of readiness with the magnetic uh, flux develop in it. So it is analogous to the conductance in the electric circuit. So it is just inverse of resistance, which is equal to permeance. So if we now compare with electric circuit and magnetic circuit, we can see that from electric circuit, simply Ohm's law where it holds, electromotive force equal to V, which is equal to I into R, where I is the current through it and R is the resistance. Simply ohmic law is valid here also in the magnetic circuit, where F equal to magnetomotive force, phi equal to flux, which is analogous to the current. So cause equal to magnetomotive force and effect is the flux, just like voltage is the cause and effect is the current through it, same way. So once you have magnetomotive force, then the flux line will be produced, and that is it is dependent on the reluctance. So more the length of the circuit, more is the reluctance, which is same as the resistive circuit. If it is a if the wear length is more, similarly your resistance will be more, same like that. So current I and magnetic flux is phi. So I and phi are analogous. Unit ampere, here unit is Weber. Here electromotive force voltage and magnetomotive force ampere turn 80. Conductivity is similar to permeability mu. So it is allowing the flux line to develop. Similarly, conductivity allowing the current to flow, and resistance R equal to rho L by A or L by sigma A, where sigma is the conductance, and reluctance equal to L by mu A. Mu A is the permeability. Okay, so this is conductivity and this is permeability. They are analogous. Electric field strength is equal to volt per meter, and magnetic field strength equal to H, which is Ni by L. That means the mmf by meter. And current density is the ampere per meter square, which is denoted by J, and here it is flux density B, which is equal to Tesla. Okay, so this analogy, if you can remember, then it will be easy for you to solve the magnetic circuits. So if we have a composite series magnetic circuit, it will look like this. So you have a toroid of different cross section area, which is of A. This is of your air gap. There is a air gap, so that is having one cross section area, and then this is a different material A, and this is B, a different magnetic material. C is another magnetic material. All these three are having different cross section area, A1, A2, this is A3, and this is your this is A3 only because it is the same thing. So it is your it is written, it can be written as AG, air gap. Okay, so if you have a cross circuit, magnetic circuit like this of length L1 with cross section area A1 with permeability mu1, and then different material with cross section area A2, length L2, and permeability mu2, and the third one with L3, A3, mu3, and for air gap it is mu0 actually, mu0, A0, AG and LG. Then you can write the total reluctance in terms of this, which is L1 by mu0, mu R1 A1, L2 by mu0, mu R2 A2, L3, like that. And at the end, for the air gap, it is mu R will be equal to 1, so that only. And then if you find the total reluctance like this, then your flux phi is equal to mmf by total reluctance, and if you substitute this value, this is your effective thing actually. If you have to, if you calculate this, then you can write it in this form and you find your total answer. So you can replace this as the total thing whenever you have a circuit like this. If you have a magnetic circuit which is this, which looks like this, say you have a magnetic core, it is called shell type uh, transformer core. So let us forget about that. So it is used usually in transformer. So there is a primary and over that secondary coil, and flux line will produce like this. So in case of a shell type transformer, we get this kind of magnetic material. So if you have a magnetic circuit like this, how you can analyze it? Say you have a coil of length, coil of turn n, and a current I. If the I current is flowing through it, this is your mmf. Mmf is equal to n into I due to this coil, and that will develop a flux line phi, like here it is shown, and that will be divided into two part, and it will be equally distributed if you have the same magnetic material, because this length is L1 plus L2 plus L1. So 2L1 plus L2 is one path. Here also 2L1 plus L2. So total length for this path is actually 2L1 plus L2. Cross section area is same throughout. So which is say A, if we take the cross section of this thing. So if it is A, then that is throughout same. So you have this path, you have reluctance is equal to 1 by mu0 mu1, that also will be same, mu0 mu r into 2L1 plus L2 divided by your A. So if this is S, having S reluctance. This path is also having S reluctance. And for this one, this is actually L2, L2 only, this path, for this path. So this L2 is actually the length for this part, and if it is having a different reluctance S dash, it is equal to same as mu 0 mu r. So mu into L2 divided by A. So you can write, you can get the analogous circuit like this. There will be one resistance which is missed out actually. This is H dash, this is S, this is S, and this is equal to Ni, and this is equal to phi, and these two also 5 by 2, 5 by 2. So the way you solve the electric circuit, in the same way you can solve for phi here. So what you can find here, this is your Ni is equal to what? Ni is equal to your total MMF is equal to phi into H dash, like drop for this, and then this also, or you can write Ni is equal to, for this part it is 5 by 2 into S. 5 by 2 into S you can write, and in that way you can find out the value of 5 by 2. And if you can find out the value of 5 by 2, then you can find out what is phi, and then what is the MMF at this part. So in that way you can calculate the total flask. Okay. If
Sir,
you
S is equals to 2L1 plus L2 by I couldn't understand this. At the
this
bottom which you have written.
here, if you go through this way, this is L1, right? Then this is L2, L1 plus L2, then this path is again L1. So that is why it is 2L1 plus L2. Got it? Similarly,
Oh,
for this path, this is L1 plus L2 plus again another L1. So 2L1 plus L2. And for this, it is only L2. So in that way you can solve, or you can, it is better to follow like that only. So whenever you solve for electrical circuit, the way you solve it, in the same way you can find out for the magnetic circuit, and it will be more clear if we take problem. So let us take another example, like if you have a,
Sir,
yes.
sir, S dash is 1 by mu, sir. What that mu is relative
mu, mu-
permeability?
no, mu is effective actual permeability, mu 0 mu r,
Okay, sir.
like this. So now let us take, these are actually the if we just put their value, then this only will become problem. We'll take up that. Let us first have an idea about the circuits. So if we now, for the same circuit, if we have a air gap like this, then what will happen? Another uh, your reluctance will be introduced, which is Sg. So initially S dash was, and if this value is this, if this length is very small, then we can ignore that. That means we can take it as L2 only. This length is L2, but air gap, say L2 equal to 10 centimeter and air gap equal to 0.5 centimeter. Then we can take L2 as 10 only, approximately 10 only. And for air gap, what will happen, you have to calculate separately Sg, and what is that? That is equal to that millimeter length thickness, 0.5 centimeter, divided by cross section area remains same, and it is only 1 by mu 0, because mu r equal to 1, then mu 0 into Lg by Ag is equal to A, so this is your Sg. So then what will happen then, if we want to draw the analogous circuit, it will be here, in place of resistance we can write S, here we can write S. This is for Sg, one is S dash plus Sg. So this is your reluctance, and this will become 5 by 2, pi by 2, and this is equal to 5. Okay. So if you have to find out the total, uh, what is your phi s? Phi into s is equal to your total MMF for this path, and that is equal to your uh, n into I minus this drop, because across this path is the h dash plus sg. That drop you have to take, because there also MMF will be produced. So MMF is required to produce a phi through this. So the H dash plus Sg into phi equal to phi by 2 into S. Like the way you solve for the electrical circuit, what we do, we just find out I by 2 if we have to find out, or if it is I1, if it is I2, I1 into R is equal to V minus I into R1. The same way you have to solve for the magnetic circuit, the way you solve the pure resistive circuit. Okay. So problem will take up, but before that, let us just go through this, how we find out BH curve using magnetic material. This is still pending. So that we do it with the help of magnetic circuit only. And there are two means. One is by ballistic galvanometer, another is flux meter. So let us first take with ballistic galvanometer. So circuit is like this. You have a source. It's a DC source, huh? And you have a ammeter connected with it, and you have a reversible switch with which you can change the polarity direction of the current, and a rheostat through which you can change the magnitude of the current. And this is the reversible switch with which you can change the direction of the current. And this current is coil is wound over a toroid. Like this is your coil 1, this one, it is like this. And another coil is S2, which is linked with this toroid, and through this there is a resistance in series, and this series in series, and with this resistance we connect a ballistic galvanometer. So what happened when gradually we keep the rheostat position, we change the rheostat position, and gradually we increase the direction, increase the magnitude of the current, and then suddenly if we reverse it, then there will be deflection in the galvanometer. So deflection in the galvanometer will give you the measure of the flux produced it. How we are coming to this, and in that way, if we take serially I and this deflection, then with that we can find out the BH curve. Why? Because I is linked with your H, because we know that H is equal to Ni by L. So it is H is proportional to I, and deflection theta is proportional to B, flux density. So in that way we can find out the BH curve. Let us quickly go through this. So a ballistic galvanometer is a moving coil suspended between the poles of a permanent magnet. So whenever a current will be flowing through it, there will be deflection. However, the coil is wound over a non-metallic former because of producing a less damping, and there is very little damping when the coil is connected with a rheostat as it is shown. So damping less means immediately there will be deflection. If it is more damping, if the more damping is there, if it's a metallic former, then damping will be more, and then we will not get the immediate deflection. So recording will not be as per the proportional to the actually the through the flux. I mean, not, it won't give you the right measure. That's why we use a non-metallic former, so that there is a little damping. The first deflection theta is proportional to the number of coulomb discharged through the galvanometer, like this. When we discharge it, so then that coulomb is proportional to the deflection of the theta. And if duration of the discharge is short compared to the time of the one oscillation, then this is actually holds. So quantity of the electricity through the galvanometer is equal to K into theta. That is the main take home idea. So it is a galvanometer constant K, and K into theta will be is equal to total charge. That means your current through it into time. Time is the time for reversal. This reversal, how fast you do it. So if the flux phi is produced by the primary coil, if I current is flowing through it, and this is your primary coil, and flux line phi is produced. So now if you reverse it, then uh, what will happen? Phi will become minus phi. So phi minus of minus phi, and if time of reversal of flux is t, then rate of change of flux 2 phi by t, and rate of change of flux is proportional to the uh, if we know the rate of change of flux, and if that flux is linked with N2 secondary coil, then 2 phi by T into N2 will give you the voltage and I mean the induced EMF, and if the resistance is R2, then 2N2 phi divided by R2T will give you the total current, and charge is equal to that current into T. So ultimately you get charge is equal to 2 into N2 into phi divided by R2, and that is equal to K theta as per the principle of galvanometer, because galvanometer will give you a deflection which is proportional to the charge. So that charge is equal to 2 phi by R2, and that is equal to K theta. So theta is equal to, and B is equal to phi by A, where A is the cross section area and that is uniform here. So what you get, B is equal to phi by N, and if you put the phi in terms of K, theta, R2 and N2, then this is what you get. So B is equal to K into theta into R2 divided by 2 into A. N2 is constant, A is constant, R2 is constant, K is the galvanometer constant. So what we can write, B is proportional to theta. So whatever deflection you are getting, that is analogous to your flux density. And if Ni is the number of primary turn, then Ni by L, L is the length of the mean circumference area of the ring, that means the toroid, the magnetic circuit. So Ni by L will give you the magnetizing force H. That means N1 is constant, toroid length is constant, therefore H is proportional to I. So if you record what is I, and if you record the deflection, you can easily get a BH curve, provided you know all these values, cross section area, N2, all those things, R2 and all. Otherwise, you will get a scaled BH curve. So this is one way. Another is using flux meter. It is same as the concept of galvanometer. Here also it is B equal to phi by A, and flux meter will give you the deflection as per the flux generated. So which is C into theta. So that if you do, your deflection is equal to 2 into N2 into 5, because if you reverse it, so phi minus of minus 5 will give you 2 phi, and that into N will give you the deflection. So in this is how you will get H and B, and if you plot it, you will get the BH curve using flux meter. Okay. And if we can also do the same thing without using anything, like whenever we'll do the transformer related experiment, I don't know whether it is taught in your laboratory class. Your open circuit short circuit test is over in transformer. Okay, yeah, maybe not for all section. Let us quickly just tell that whenever we'll perform the open circuit test in a transformer, if we instead of AC source, if we use a DC source and we do the same thing, like we have a transformer and if we measure the open circuit voltage, then gradually just by deflecting it, then that will also give us a rough idea about like voltage will be proportional to your flux, so you will get a rough idea of the BH curve. Or you can do it with DC source, AC source, and if you gradually using a resistor, if you gradually increase the magnetizing current and note the output voltage, that also give you an idea of the BH curve. Okay. So with that in mind, let us now move to a problem. So in this problem, it is told that a magnetic circuit comprises of three parts in series, each of uniform cross-section area. Three magnetic part is given, three different part in series. So one of length this 80 mm, cross-section area 50, and another is 60 mm, 90 mm square. Air gap is 0.5 mm, and cross-section area is a bigger one, so which is 150 mm square. This is your series circuit. So now a coil of 400 turn is wound on part B. This is your part B, and flux density in the air gap is given, which is 0.3 Tesla. Assuming that all flux passes through the given circuit and that the relative permeability of the material mu r, which is given, then we have to estimate the coil current to produce such a flux density. How much current will be flowing through that coil so that we can get a air gap flux of 0.3. Okay. So then how our circuit will look like? It will look like this. You have the MMF. This is your source, MMF. And you have you have the same mu r, so that is same, only length and cross section area are different. So that is why you will be having three reluctance. One is SA, this is for length for part A, then
Sir,
this is for part B.
hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think there is a time lag between your speaking and writing.
Yes, sir. I am also thinking same. The screen is lagging, sir.
It can happen because today the institute net connection is very poor. I was unable to connect initially. So what is actually is it now now I am writing, is it showing?
Yes, sir, it is showing now, but what you have written is showing later on to in my screen.
Understood. It happens sometime. So this is part C. So there are two reluctance basically for this two part, and it is in series. Just like you have RA, R1, R2, R3 in series, and you have a voltage, find your phi. Same concept. So here you have a MMF which you don't know. What is your I current that you don't know? So what is your MMF? MMF is equal to 4000 into I. So we can write it like 4000 into I current, which we have to find out. And for this MMF, you have total reluctance, which is SA plus SB plus S air gap. So then how can we find out this? S1 or SA is equal to 1 by mu 0 value is 4 pi 10 to the power minus 7. Mu r is equal to 1300. And then L by A. So 80 divided by 50. And this is 10 to the power minus 2. And this is 10 to the power minus 4. Because we have to convert into meter. Sorry, it is 10 to the power minus 3 and it is 6. I'm sorry.
Nothing visible.
It is written also. Okay. So now phi is given. What is your phi? You have your flux density of 0.3 Tesla. Your air gap flux density B is given 0.3 Tesla. So 0.3 into cross section area will give you the total flux phi. And this phi is actually analogous to your I in the electrical circuit. So it is a series circuit, R1, R2, R3, and I current is flowing. So I into R1 plus R2 plus R3 is equal to your voltage V. In the same way we are doing this. So now this is your MMF for part 1, FA. So this is I into R1, analogous to that. So phi into LA divided by mu 0 mu r into AA. So we just stood the value of phi 0. This is mu 0. This is mu r. This is cross section area in meter square. This is length in meter, and this is your phi, which you have calculated from here. So this will give you the MMF for the part 1. So which is equal to 44.1 ampere turn. Similarly, for the second part B, phi into SB, phi is equal to 0.45 into 10 to the power minus 4. Then length is
Sir, relative permeability for air will consider 1 na, because it is again assuming all resistance are 1300. So for air will consider 1 na here. For
yes,
air also
yes,
1300. No.
air for air gap it will be 1. For the other part it will be 1300. Like this is the air gap part. It should be written as FC. It is my mistake.
Okay.
So FC is your air gap. Air gap. Okay. So for the B part, it is the same material. So that's why mu r is still written. 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 is for mu 0 in the absolute permeability. This is the cross section area in the meter square, and this is your length. It is 60 mm, so 16 10 to the power minus 3, and this is your effective ampere turn for the part B. And part C is the air gap, for which we'll not write mu r equal to 1, so that will write. And this is your length, so length will put 0.5 millimeter into 10 to the power minus 3, and this is your phi, which is already same, analogous to I. So this is actually I into R1, I into R2, I into R3. Same way, phi into S1, phi into S2, phi into SC. So all these three air gap will add, all these 3 ampere turn, which is the effective mmf required, will add up. So this is the effective mmf required, and for that we have I into n, that is your mmf, and n is the number of turn which is given, which is 4000. So what is your I current required? That will be this total ampere turn divided by 4000, right? So this is actually 80 divided by 4000. This much of milliampere current will be required to generate a zero point 0.3 Tesla flux density in the air gap. Okay. So is it clear, or you want me to explain once again?
Sir, only one doubt is there. The flux that is there, 0.3 toroid. Sir, it will be same for all the three elements, now for A, B, and C. Because it is in series connection.
Yes. Mu r you're talking about now. What is why mu r is
No, no,
changing?
sir, not mu r. I'm saying, sir, the flux density that is phi, that is actually equivalent to the current which we have.
It will be same.
So it is
What is
same,
there?
you know.
What is there in the air gap? Same will be through all the part. Okay. In the part A, part B, part C, all through all this, like in the series circuit, whatever be your resistance value, the effective current will be same, right? Through all resistors. In the same way here also, there will be same flux flowing through the circuit. Only thing is, whenever air gap will come in the magnetic circuit, it will be very high reluctance. So instead of, if the air gap is not present here, then we would have required even lower current to generate the same flux density in the magnetic circuit. But as the air gap is present, that will introduce a high reluctance because the permeability falls, right? So that is why, because of this high reluctance, we will be needing more current to generate the same flux. Or if, say, we have ignored here the fringing effect, the losses, there may be air gap losses, because whenever you have a magnetic circuit like this, whenever you have an air gap, then there will be fringing, and for that the effective cross section area will be increased, just like the way it is shown here, na 50 90. Then for air gap, usually it is in the same material which is of 90 cross section area, then there is air gap. So ideally it has to be of same cross section area, but due to the fringing effect, the flux line will move like this. So not directly. A part of it will move directly and part of it will travel like this. So this will effectively increase the cross section area. That is why cross section area is increased here. And there will be losses from this part also. Like all the flux which is developed is not linked with the magnetic material. A few part will be uh, go through some other part, through the air gap, through atmosphere. So that is actually losses. So that losses we are not taken care of. So because of that losses, again the will get the less flux. So that losses, if you include, then we'll be needing more current through the coil. So these things, if it is mentioned, then that also you have to calculate, and ultimately you will get the effective current which will produce that particular flux density in the air gap. So here
And
we have
sir, one last thing,
uh-huh.
sir, estimate the coil current. So, sir, for the coil current, what we'll do in the last? Like we have flux, so we know, but how to calculate I then finally?
So if you know the flux, if you know all the reluctance SA, SB, SC, then you can find out the total ampere turn which is required to produce that flux, isn't it? It is similar to like drop across R1, R2, R3. So if what then ultimately, if you have to find out what is the voltage required to find to flow this much of current, then what is that? That voltage is equal to I into R1 plus I into R2 plus I into R3. Same here, MMF required is equal to phi into SA, phi plus phi into SB plus phi into SC. So this is the total ampere turn required. And for that we need to need some current which will develop this ampere turn. And it is given that total turn coil is of 4000 turn. So we know what is equal to turn. Then how much is the ampere requirement? That is the total ampere turn divided by 4000. So this 45.4 milliampere is the required current which we have to it should flow through the coil so that the flux density is produced. So if I is not there, then definitely flux will not be there, isn't it? So to have that particular flux density of 0.3 Tesla, you need to have this current. If your number of turn instead of 4000, if it is 1000, then we'll be having a little more current. Or if it is 500, or if it is say 100, then we'll having a higher current, which is 1.818, like that only. Okay, so this is how we calculate the current. This is your magnetizing current.
And sir, here in this problem, basically the FB part, sir, it is acting as a battery as well as a resistor if we compare it to DC, because in that only the turns is made in the part B section of the whole circuit. So sir, it is
Part
behaving
B,
like,
part B, the coil is wound, so it is like having a practical voltage source which is having a EMF, and this is the internal resistance. So
yes, sir, yes.
something
Acha, it
like
is equivalent to that only, no?
that only.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so in the next class we'll take a more complicated problem like this as it is shown here, and even more problems. So next class will be devoted for solving this kind of magnetic circuits, and then after that we'll move to the electromagnetic induction. Okay. Is there any more question? Otherwise, I'll close the session. Okay. As there is no question, let us call it today. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can we leave?